Thank you, Christina. It's Faith Time, our weekly conversation on matters of faith. And joining us this morning is Pastor JT Wright with Airport Boulevard Baptist Church. Thank you for joining us, sir.
My pleasure.
All right, we wanted to talk about anxiety and fear. That's a real problem that a lot of people have. How do you define anxiety?
Well, I do a lot from the pulpit on dictionary definitions, and this feeling of the feeling of fear and stress over uncertainty in situations when we really don't know the outcome, that kind of is what I see as anxiety, the key words being fear and uncertainty.
Talking about this from a spiritual perspective, how do you feel that fear is sometimes used by the enemy or the devil to kind of take our joy away?
Well, when you think about what Christianity is in terms of what we're called to do, surrender our lives to Christ, and then be obedient to Him, that combination of surrender and obedience, when we don't trust outcomes to the Lord, when we get wound up in feelings instead of our commitment to Christ, the enemy uses that to kind of lock us into neutral and not really do anything.
How do you fight it?
Well, the fight is a daily fight. When you see Jesus in the Gospels talking about taking up your cross daily and following Him, too many times we trust our relationship with Christ and we make it a one-time event when really it's meant to be a daily walk, and we're not strong on our own. And so this fight is a fight that we need to be dependent on the Lord for.
When you talk about this sort of thing, how does one try to stay mindful and living in that moment and reminding themselves that, you know, it's going to be okay?
Well, one thing, first of all, is what I spoke about in terms of a daily walk. You've got to understand as a human being that we're not able to encounter or know or even influence the situations that we build up with fear and anxiety. I tell people that I work with that come to my office, the only thing you can control is your choices. And so if you understand that you can't control other people or what happens, or like today, you can't control the weather, we get fear, we get anxiety, but we need to trust those things to the Lord, which is simple to say, hard to do. But the way that you get into that mode is having this relationship that's a daily relationship with Him, and being mindful of it is remembering that you can't do this on your own, but God through His Holy Spirit wants to help you with this, and so you don't have to face it alone.
What are some things that people can do in their daily lives to kind of avoid that fear and anxiety, or at least avoid having it take over your headspace?
Well, I think first of all, when you think about your headspace and not allowing something to really take over your life, it's recognizing who the enemy is. Now you have these polar opposite definitions of the devil. There is a significant number of Americans, a USA Gov poll done in 2013 says only 57% of Americans believe that there even is such a thing as a devil. It's that picture of a person in a red jumpsuit with horns and a ponytail and a pitchfork. And if you dismiss that adversary, you will be conquered by fear and anxiety. Also, sometimes, even as Christians, we give the devil too much credit. We go, the devil made me do it, or they see a demon behind every blade of grass. The balance is understanding that He is real, but also understanding that we serve a God who has won that victory. And so if we acknowledge our need for dependence on the Lord, and we take up our cross and die to self daily, and we understand that He's out there, that mindfulness, that approach really helps us to be more occupied with serving the Lord, being obedient, and not preoccupied with fear and anxiety.
Big challenges this morning. We're talking with Pastor JT Wright with Airport Boulevard Baptist Church. Thank you for joining us this morning for this edition of Faith Time and News 5 this morning. We'll continue after the break.